Welcome to episode 308 of the Center Ring Esports podcast presented by Alt, and this is going to be the best episode ever. We have special guest, Temperature, newly signed Evil Genius Valorant Pro is on the show. Also, quick little Katowice preview for the playoffs and a brief e-news to tap things off. But before we get to any of that, let me tell you about the show sponsor, altesports.com, number one esports apparel company in the world, in the universe. But you already know that. Partnered, obviously, with us, but the Call of Duty League, Overwatch League, E-United, Sentinels, you name it, you can go to their website and get it. And this isn't just generically made stuff, folks. They have special edition Overwatch Doodle collections, the Heritage hoodie by E-United, simple yet so clean. Check it out, altesports.com. You let them know the TCR boy sent you.
Hey everyone, this is Semler and you're listening to TCR.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello and welcome. Welcome back to another edition of the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast, coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date, February 24th, 2021. The time, 8:32 p.m. Central Time. Follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring and our website, tcr.gg's. Got links there for everything you need. Our Twitter has links to our Discord and our Patreon if you ever feel like supporting the show. You can check that out at The Center Ring on Twitter. Hello, my name is Tim. I already said that. My name is Tim. And I'm also your captain for this journey into esports. Alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend. It's a Nooch. What's up?
Love player interview days, Tim. Love it. Never gonna get old.
Can you tell we're on a clock?
We are.
Probably the fastest intro I've ever done.
Didn't Alt, if you're listening, we apologize. It will be more in-depth next time, but gotta go today. Gotta go.
we got an interview here in 30 minutes, our time, real time. So let's skip the pleasantries and get right into it, Anuj. Because we have Katowice, the playoffs starting this weekend. One of Counter-Strike's staples. If Counter-Strike had majors, like the golf has majors, or tennis has majors, this would be one of them. Like, this would be one of those events every year where you stop down to watch Katowice. In fact, I think people already do, given the viewership numbers already. We had 600,000, over 600,000 for a match earlier in just group stage. So playoffs is set to be nutty, especially with some of the teams we have here. You know, we mentioned it last episode. Probably not what people were expecting, needless to say. Unless you thought Spirit was going to go. And we didn't do a preview, but had we done a preview episode, if it weren't for snowstorms, we definitely would have had Gambit and Spirit making it in.
Yeah, I mean, look, Tim, I've always been a believer in the CIS region as a whole. I thought that was one of the deepest regions, as I mentioned on, I'm sure, one of our previous episodes. Like, these were all teams to watch, every single one of them. And now, okay, to be fair, I know we're kind of joking around a little bit, but like Spirit's coming off of a tournament win. Virtus Pro, as we know, has played well over the past few months, right? We saw them with the Flashpoint victory. We've seen them in a couple other tournaments where they've done pretty good. I think Gambit is probably one of the bigger surprises, more so even than Spirit, because, like, again, Spirit's ranked in the top 15. Now they're in the top 10. So it shouldn't be a shocker to the players, right? I think as a fan of just Counter-Strike, if you're just kind of more casually watching, though, yes, a lot of these names are going to be like, oh my gosh, where did these teams come from? Like, who are they? You might know some of them from Gambit being in a major, Virtus Pro's legacy within Counter-Strike, but over the past year and a half, 2 years, these teams have been fairly non-existent. And so to the players, though, these, all of these teams have a star player, right? Like each of them has their own star outright, which makes me believe for the long term we'll probably see these teams do pretty well unless they lose one or two of their guys. But I think I'm more surprised that it felt like their opponents really weren't ready for them. Like maybe took them for granted because of the name and what they've done, but none of them had easy roads to get to the playoffs, right? Like you wouldn't look at any of their routes and be like, well, yeah, they got pretty lucky in who they beat and how they got there. It's like, no, all of these guys earned their spots. They're all beating teams that we were probably projecting to be in the playoffs, to get to this point.
Yeah, I mean, just real quick, Virtus Pro, Furia 2-0. Beat Furia 2-0. Gambit 2-0 G2. And then Spirit 2-1 Astralis. But as we said last time, 16-1 on Dust 2. Like, if you get 16-1, I don't care if it's map 3. I don't care if it's map 5. That counts for, like, 2 victories. Like, that's a sweep in my eyes. You just got 16-1 on Dust 2. Like, come on. Have we not been playing this map for the last 25 years? Like, give me a break here. So, yeah, I agree that, I think from the casual fan standpoint that it's definitely a shock, but especially in this COVID online world, these are kind of the teams that we've seen kind of creep up to the top, right? Throw in big, even though they were eliminated early on in this event, but like these weird
Heroic and like some of these guys that have just like
what I would
managed to.
call, no offense, DreamHack teams. These are the teams you see invited to DreamHack Dallas, right? DreamHack Atlanta. The little filler DreamHack tournaments, not the majors.
I mean, that's how we've seen all of these teams play.
Right.
At the DreamHack events.
These
So
are the teams you see invited to the small...
I get what you're saying. Now you say like no offense, but that's offensive to DreamHack, Tim.
Well,
You say no offense,
I
and that's
love
how you know
DreamHack,
you're about
don't
to
get
be
me wrong,
offended.
but they're not coming to Dallas this year, so we can say whatever we want about them.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore.
We don't need that media pass this year. Next year we'll get back to kissing ass.
Hey, we give them a whole episode. They're fine.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, like for the playoffs right now, Tim, for the way this is lining up, like it's exciting because we've never seen, first of all, 4 CIS teams out of a 16 playoff. Like that's pretty crazy to think about that when NA is struggling and dying to produce one team consistently making the playoffs. We've seen Brazil have a couple of teams. We've always seen, Europe in general do really well. Now, obviously being split into so many countries, they have a lot of people there in different regions that kind of all mesh into one, but a lot of teams from Europe always involved. And now you have CIS, who is has a bulk share of the grouping. To me, got to be inspiring for that region. Like that's a lot of excitement. And you've relied on Simple all these years to produce you championships, and it's looking like you have another really good shot at one. You make it through an Astralis or a Liquid, and it's yours. I'm most looking forward to see how Liquid does, though, like what we're getting from this Liquid roster, because I never thought in a million years we would see it go so good so fast, right? Especially when you make that IGL change from Stewie to Fallen right before this event, because it really didn't look great. Fallen wasn't playing great. He had a couple of good matches here and there, but as a whole, it didn't look pretty, and it also didn't make sense to not have Fallen in that role. Now to move Fallen into the IGL role, let Stewie hopefully go back to being the Stewie of old. I think we still kind of yet to see that. But this roster is super intriguing now, right? Like Fallen in the IGL role has been one of the hardest players to kill with the awesome KDA. His rating has been awesome. His deaths per round is like at 0.5 or 0.6, which is super low. I mean, he's playing really well. And so I'm excited to see what this Liquid roster is going to do against what I think would ultimately be Astralis. But, VP Astralis going head to head in that first round, leading into Liquid. I can't wait. Like, I can't wait to see if this is real. Like, am I seeing a Liquid team that's on a honeymoon phase all of a sudden with Fallen behind the helm? Or is IGL Fallen 2016 back? Like, is that what we're seeing? And I don't know. I mean, I'm excited to see what we're getting here.
As I've mentioned before, I think with the key to Fallen, the hidden formula with Fallen is you have to ride or die with them. And it seems like right now that's what Liquid is doing. So hopefully like a week off doesn't make some of these teams cold, right? Especially like the unknowns like Spirit or VP and things like that. Hopefully they can kind of keep this momentum going. But to get back to Liquid, I don't. It honestly baffles me, Anuj, how they have been performing so far in Katowice from the play-ins. Right, they were a play-in team to not drop any matches, including with groups. In that time, they had to play MIBR, which is Fallen's former team, and FaZe, which is where Twist just left for. So like you even had storylines in there where it's like if you wanted to have like the distraction of doubt or like just the distraction of the story behind it as an excuse, they could have done that, right? But it's like imagine had they lost to FaZe or MIBR, then the different narrative that we would be having right now.
Yeah, so take away the storyline games and go to the competitive games, right? Where not only did they beat MIBR in phase, but they also went through Navi 2-1. They beat Vitality 2-1. So they've been tested not only, mentally with having to deal with storylines and drama associated with the games, but now you have to go and beat the best in the world, right? Navi sitting at number one, Vitality, I don't know where they're at, but I'm sure,
3.
yeah, top three. So right there.
That's
So I
a
mean,
crazy thing. Is right now if say Liquid and Astralis face up and Liquid beat them. Well, we'll just say what if, right? Like what if they would have had not then in one event beat number 3, 2, and 1 in the world.
they're going to have that opportunity most likely to do that. And again, it's just this is going to make them so much stronger the rest of the year. Getting in these wins early in your roster change, to see this level of production so soon with such a major change, losing such a key production person in Twist, and now bringing in Fallen to fill that void. Obviously, Grim having to do his fair share in the replacing Nitro essentially. Um, this team is like showing a lot of fortitude right now, and that's something that you can't, you have to praise that, right? Like it's just one of those things that you don't see it too often. How many times do we see a major roster change happen, and then the next 6 episodes we're talking about, oh, give them time, they just need some time, they need some time. Like it's so easy to have that excuse built in, but
Especially
when
on
you're
Liquid's side from their perspective. Because you got to remember Liquid, and this is why I'm so shocked by it, because it wasn't like Liquid the org was making these decisions. The players, the roster moves that they've had to make were forced roster moves because the players, Twist and Nitro, left. They were the ones who decided to leave, which is why from an outsider's, like in my brain, I'm thinking, uh-oh, like trouble in the house, right? Like we have in inner turmoil within the roster, or they're not agreeing with the direction, so they're backing out. This is going to be a spiral downfall for Liquid. Like we're going to see it to where we have one NA team again with EG, which is hardly a consistent team at this point. But that be damned. It's incredible. Like right now, if you're an NA fan, just enjoy it for now, because who knows, right? The new roster bug might creep up later on in the next event, and then we're like, here's the roster struggle, right? But I guess from their perspective, at least most of the other teams in this tournament also had recent roster moves.
And look, no Brazilian team here in the playoffs, so you will see NA and BR, I think, cheering together on this one, right? Like I feel like Fallen still probably loved in the Brazilian scene, regardless of
Oh
him
yeah,
going to Team Liquid or not. Like so,
100%.
it should have a lot of backing behind them. I'm assuming if they end up playing Astralis, that's gonna be a 700-800K type viewership game, once that one goes live. But we're in for a really good playoffs here, because a lot on the line for somebody like Simple, right? You have what would be considered one of the easier playoff runs to make, to at least be in the title game right now. Whether you win it all or not, you're going to have to go against, a Liquid, Astralis, or VP to get it. But you are facing Gambit in the first round. Then you would square off against Spirit, two teams you would be projected to beat regardless of how good they're playing right now. And then from there you got one more match, right? And so I think Navi has a lot of pressure to at least 100% make the player or make the championship. Like that is got to be the mindset for them. That anything less is a complete disaster, and really they're probably thinking anything less than a championship in this case is failure.
I would think for Astralis, it. So I was thinking when I was watching, um, Astralis one time, this last event here. I forget what the matchup was, but I was watching them, and the thought crept up into my mind, Anuj, with Device. And I know people refer to like he's one of the best players in the world and things like that, but for whatever reason, we don't talk about Device the same way you talk about Simple or Zywoo. Like you talk about Simple, Zywoo, Nico, you're talking like a next tier above every other player, right? I almost think that's because the teams themselves, though, don't perform nearly as well, despite Vitality being number 3 in the world and Navi being number 2 in the world. The results, though, they just aren't there when it matters. So I think like for something like this would be huge. I'm riding high on Navi. I feel like Boomich has been playing really well as of late. Like he's been complimenting Simple. Like the roster has been complimenting Simple really well. Even Perfecto was playing amazing early on in the group stages. So I think right now, I don't know if it's like Simple decided to almost take like a back seat in the sense of, you don't have to do everything. And it's allowing the other rosters, the younger guys on the team to kind of blossom and gain a little bit more confidence on their end. But I think
Let's not. Simple still has to shine for them
he's
to
no,
win.
no,
In
of
their
course.
wins in this tournament, even the only loss they had was against Liquid, and guess who wasn't top of the? That was the only time Simple wasn't leading the
I
leaderboard was
guess
in
what I'm
that Liquid
saying
matchup.
is before, even like as of a couple events ago, it's like if Simple's dead early on in the round, it's game
You can
over.
count that
Like
round over.
it's
Yeah,
done. I forget what event it was, but I remember one time it was like the final round to decide. Simple dies within. He was the first kill like within seconds, and it was like even the casters were like, "Welp, guess this is
they
it."
start when they start talking about a story mid round. You know they've lost faith in that round. No, but you're right. Like the thing with Navi, it's kind of been the same story, Tim, for like years now. Is we have a lot of people that could be number two, right? In past years, obviously you had like Flamey, Zeus, Seized. Like these guys were all considered top world class players, and even now with you know Boomich or Electronic, these guys are also capable of being that number two. It's like you just pray for one of them to step up, right? And that's all they need. And when it does happen, when that number two really is a number two in that game, they tend to win. Like that's how it works for them. And in this tournament, we've seen that majority of the time. They struggled a little bit against Liquid there, but I think Liquid was also playing really well. And that third map went into, I believe, like a double OT for Liquid to have to close it out. And Liquid's other win was a 16-14 win against them. Like that was a really close game. But for Navi, they've had that second guy step up in this tournament. And when you see that, then you always look at them as a real threat to win it. And I see no difference here. I mean, like I said, I think they got the easiest path to the finals. And if they're able to get into the finals, I mean, we know Navi has the ability to beat anybody on a given day.
So, predictions. Who do you have? Let's just go with in the grand finals and winning.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Navi Liquid. I think Liquid will continue their fairy tale run right now. I don't want to say fairy tale, might be more than that, but I think they'll continue their run and take out whoever they play in the semis. But I do have Navi winning it all. Navi has just looked really good. They lost to Liquid earlier. I think that'd be a cool little redemption story for them to take them head on in the finals and get a chance to beat them there. Um, I just find it hard to bet against Simple, and not to say that Astralis isn't playing well, because Astralis is playing really well. I just don't want to like pick them every damn time. Like I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's just like an easy, safe pick. do they have the ability to win this event? 110% they do, right? They're right there with anybody, but maybe getting smacked around by Spirit 16-1, as a closer game for a series. Let's see where they are to start groups. They're lucky. I think they got a week off to kind of rebound from that and forget about it. But Navi for me again with the route that they have, I'm going to take them to beat Liquid in the finals.
So I have the same finals, but these colors don't run a Nuge, and I'm going to take Team Liquid to win it.
All right, all right. I think it's a good pick. Like Liquid to me, the only reason that makes me nervous to pick them is because they would have to probably beat Astralis. And Astralis has had Liquid's number for as long as
Right.
I mean, they've always had Liquid's number. Let's put it that way. They've never not had Liquid's
Yeah, I mean,
number.
for the most part, they might slip up
Like
once
Liquid's
here and
won
there.
matches against
but-
them. Like I don't want to say they never beat them, but you it's just never been in their favor.
No.
I think the key to that matchup is not Fallen's ability to stay consistent. It's for Stewie to become the player that we know him to be. If Stewie can come out and perform at a level that Naf and Elige are doing, and they become a triple threat with Fallen at the helm, that becomes a really dangerous team. And I want to wait to see that really happen before I start elevating them to top 3, top 4 status consistently. I think they're sitting at 7 right now on the boards. They're right there, but I do think they need Stewie to kind of ignite them a little bit and really drive this team to being a championship competitor team again.
And the sad part is it's also the capability of all these fun storylines, all these underdogs winning could all be ruined. This is what's going to happen. Gambit's going to get to the finals, and then Astralis is going to get to the finals, and then Astralis is going to beat Gambit like 16-2 and 16-3. And it's going to be the most anticlimactic finals. That's the true prediction. That's what's going to happen. So there's that. Katowice starts, I believe, on the 26th. So that's Friday, first round of playoffs start for us anyways here in the States. So there's your quick Katowice playoff preview. Let's throw it over to our guest, Temperature from Evil Geniuses, professional Valorant player, and then we'll finish with some e-news. All right, let's welcome on our next guest here on the Center Ring Esports podcast. He is been a focus on our show for quite some time. If you follow Valorant and our podcast, formerly of Moon Raccoons, now newly signed with Evil Geniuses. Please welcome to the show, Temperature. What's going on, man?
Nothing much. Have VCT tomorrow, but overall doing pretty well. Thank you for having me on.
No, obviously, as you said, you have a big day tomorrow, so I definitely appreciate you taking the time tonight to come on the show, talk some Valorant, talk some good stuff. How's the team kind of meshing together, as you'd say? It's been a little over a month?
I would say we're meshing together well. Everyone has a very good attitude towards the learning process, because some people do tend to get very frustrated with it and will get stuck on like, oh, we're not doing this right now. Instead, we're like, okay, we're not doing this right. How do we fix it? What can we do for it? And then we move forward with it. So it's been very well.
And I know obviously the goal coming from Moon Raccoons was probably to try and take that roster and get onto a team together, because you guys had done so well at the Renegades NSG Invitational. Y'all really shined in that. But obviously the main goal is to get onto an org and further your career. And so just want to know a little bit like how how nerve-wracking was that process? How many hours were you sweating it out, and kind of how was that whole thing for you?
I would say we would spend about like 6 to 7 hours a day on practice. So I would do that. I'd DM a little bit outside of that. I'd probably play about 8 hours a day on days during the Moon Raccoons time, in order to try to show everyone that we deserve to be signed as players or as a team, which was the preferred route at the time. However, obviously that did not happen. As you see, Reba's on Ambox, Profi's on SSG, Alex and I are now on EG. So sadly it didn't work out that way, but hopefully the only thing I can wish for now is that Fiend gets signed soon. So
We had Raptors coach of Moon Raccoons on the show maybe a couple months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, and as Anuj mentioned, he even told us kind of the hopes was the band stick together. I guess behind the scenes, how close was that? I mean, was that ever a possibility, or were you guys just never really the right org approaching you?
Possibility. I would say there's definitely were possibilities, but you'd have to sacrifice on certain minimums that you would have asked for, because we said this to ourselves, we don't want to be paid less than minimum wage a month.
Yeah, that's
That was
probably a
Yeah,
good
something
thing.
that's
that was
fair.
something we
That's
said.
fair.
So we could have stuck together, gone with an org. I won't say who, and it could have happened, but the timing that happened wasn't the right timing for it to happen, because we had higher expectations. And then when those got knocked down a peg, it was kind of a little too late.
Right.
So
We even said on the show too, just from a goofy timing in general, because you guys performed so well on First Strike, and then it was like the holiday break happened, and then it was almost like, oh, that I can't imagine a whole lot of teams are calling you in the middle of Christmas and just the break in general, just kind of bad time. Obviously, things worked out for you guys individually, but just from a team's perspective, poor timing just in life.
yeah, it was definitely very poor timing, because we'd hear, oh yeah, it's New Year's, people are out on vacation, all these different types of things, and it's like, okay, well, we just gotta wait till the New Year. And then New Year came, and like tournaments would start again, and we had, I would say, lackluster results, because Profi went to SSG. We had to go pick up a new player. We had to play with them. We wouldn't have a crazy amount of time with them either. So we just weren't able to show people we were worth it. And it just happened at the worst time for all of that.
And now let's talk about your new team here with EG. How did this roster come together? Obviously, unusual circumstances, right? It's very rare that you see a roster of mixed gender, right? Like you just don't see that too often. I mean, I can't myself recall another time where you see a mixed gender roster kind of competing at the highest level, and you guys are doing that. And so I want to know how did this roster come together? Where was input coming from, and how did this band get together here?
So thankfully, I've actually heard the answer recently, so I can say it. For EG specifically, they wanted to get into the scene, but they didn't want to just do it like, oh, we'll just get a best team, like they can compete, whatever. They wanted to be unique. They wanted to do something that would actually leave a mark on the entire scene as a whole and maybe change esports itself. So that kind of came down to the mixed roster thing, and the philosophy behind it is we always have two different we split genders up between it, and that doesn't warrant for merit to be the real reason someone gets picked on team, regardless of gender or any of that. So, because Valorant's such a new scene, it enables such a plan to be put in place, and the hope is to make it more of a norm for people just to pick people up because they are good, not because they're a guy or they're a girl or any gender out there, just to give them an equal standing because of their skill rather than anything else.
Is this your first time on a mixed roster?
Um, I had a very short stint with actually Katie in Counter Strike. It was like 1 or 2 matches, but yeah, for first full time roster.
Was there, and I know this is like a tough question to even probably like answer without it sounding weird, but was there any hesitation in joining a mixed roster in the sense of something that hasn't been done before? For the men's side, it's kind of always been like it is in traditional sports, like top tier, right? And then you have the female side who is a growing scene and trying to compete at that same level and get to the same prize pools and all the stuff that they've been trying to accomplish over the years. But so I can see the understanding from a female trying to get onto a men's team, right? Like it's just more appealing in that sense versus vice versa. So as a male going into that situation, was there any sort of initial hesitation or worry going into that type of situation?
I'll say for me personally, not really. There was actually a conversation we had with the performance coach on Moon Raccoons Curry, where he said basically the only reason females are even behind in competing is because they do get segregated out into their own leagues. So they never had to strive to be the best, period. They had to be the best within their own league. So they were actually, in my opinion, limited by such leagues instead of actually promoting their own growth as people. So to me personally, seeing this, I'm like, this can actually promote them to grow even stronger, be even better, and become some of the best players in the world that they have the potential to be. You can look at Cloud9 White, and they're, in all honesty, kicking ass in the scene right now. And I think because it's everything's just an open qualifier, it
Yeah.
actually strives them to be better. They no longer have that one constraint that is subconscious.
Yeah, you
So
you hope one day with Cloud White, if there's ever an opening with Cloud9 Blue again, maybe they look at their, White as more as a farm team rather than just a secondary. Oh, look, guys, we have a female team. We'll check off this box, and it's kind of neat and things like that. That's one thing that when EG kind of announced their roster, kind of put a highlight on all those other all-female rosters that are signed with orgs that also have all-male rosters, and you're like, well, what message here are we trying to say?
yeah, 100%. I want it to be a very, I'll say, inclusive, so everyone can have their own chance just because they're good and fully merit based. Because that's something I've actually grew up a lot throughout my life. Is merit matters more than anything else. It doesn't matter who the hell you are, what the hell you did before. It's what you're doing now. Are you being a good person? Are you striving to be the best? Are you putting the work in to be the best? So from that front, in all honesty, like this type of project aligned with a lot of my like life ideals of just trying to be the best and advocating for just taking whoever the best is.
For us, it was cool to see Potter make the transition because obviously we've seen her on the desk for a long time now in Counter Strike, and obviously sad to see her leave the talent side. But she's obviously competed in the past in CS and now made the move over to Valorant. How has it been getting to play with her? Obviously, she's coming from a high profile position where people know her coming in. How has it been getting a chance to play with her?
I'll say she is integral in keeping people moving forward and always looking at it like this is practice. We are doing this for practice. I don't give any regard to the score of the scrim. We're not looking like, oh, we won 13-11. Woohoo, we did amazing. It is, oh, we lost 16-8. That could happen in a scrim, but we learned X, Y, and Z. We can work on this and become an even better team. So she's been very motivational on that front and also keeping everyone moving forward.
So you're with Moon Raccoons, which was an orgless team, right? For those who might not know, it was just kind of your guys' own thing going on. You sign with EG. Now I'm always curious because obviously we know being a professional gamer is fun and all, but the real reason you're doing it is for free merch. How soon after you sign the contract, like, do you like start that initial, like, do you start the conversation? Like, so I'm a size, I'm a medium, right-handed mouse. Like, I kind of want a 10 keyless keyboard. When does that start?
Immediately. I'm not even kidding. EG has been above and beyond for this. They've given us so much stuff. Like, I'll say this for Alex, his computer was bad mojo. Like it had bugs everywhere. Like it was terrible. EG actually sent all of us computers. They bought computers that has an i9 and a 3070 in it in order for us to do more. For the jerseys, they asked, "Oh yeah, what size you are?" I'm like driving back from Florida, and I'm like messaging with them, and I hadn't even gotten the contract in my hands to sign yet, and it's like we already had a conversation to confirm that we're going to do it, and they're asking all these questions. They're going out of their way to ask us first rather than us having to ask them. So they've been amazing on it, and like I said, immediately.
What's the best thing about being obviously on an org like EG? EG is such a reputable org. They've been around forever in esports. What is kind of the best thing about being signed to EG?
I'll say they're support system and the amount they show they care, because we may have not met everyone within the org, and there was a conversation during like our first day of like actual matches for the first VCT, and like their group chat was going crazy talking about it. Apparently, we got to see some snippets, and in all honesty, from something Profi kind of told us, is like sometimes with the bigger orders, it becomes more corporate rather than kind of like home, like homey and cozy. And EG has been extremely homey and always kind of like being there for you. And it's open communication. Like you can message a general manager, you can message anyone. Because we met with Nicole like 2 days after we signed.
That's awesome.
So we've had a lot of time to like talk with people who you would expect you wouldn't get to meet without like, oh yeah, can I get a meeting with this person? It's like we just had a meeting with the director of esports. Actually, sometimes will just sit in and talk with us, stuff like that. So it's been
Now,
great.
for EG, I want to know like what kind of expectations are being set for this lineup, right? Obviously, going to be a work in progress, right? Getting just a new roster together, that's always a challenge in itself. Obviously, we discussed some of the other challenges. I say challenges, but things that you have to deal with that you probably normally don't, right? There's a lot more on the outside probably coming your way than just a normal signing of a team. So, what kind of expectations are being set from you from the org standpoint? As a player, you always know you want to be the best, want to be number one. But what kind of expectations are the orgs putting on you guys to, performance wise and
Performance wise, they have a goal in mind of like what general placing they want us within 6 months. So we're working towards that. As for other expectations, just getting out there, getting our names out there, not like just sitting idly and never doing anything aside from just playing. So I'll just put a little bit more for like me personally. Since beginning of this month, I've played actually 10 hours a day of Valorant every single day, no break, no nothing, because I love the game personally, and I want to show them that we can do this, and I'm ready and am putting in the work, and I'm not just saying I can and I will. It's more of an I am statement.
yeah?
And as you mentioned then before we started recording, as far as getting out there, next month you are doing a charity stream, correct?
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be doing a charity stream, I believe March 20th and 21st.
All
Is
right.
that gonna be on your Twitch channel or through EG,
Um,
or how's that working out?
I am still getting complete details. If not, I'm still gonna. If it's like not like completely done through another channel, it will at the very least be on my channel, which is just temperature on Twitch. So.
We'll
Excellent.
make sure to follow up with you and get some of that
Mm-hmm.
information so we can help get the word out for you. So now heading into um your next matches coming up tomorrow. Who do y'all got first tomorrow?
We got a team named Aqua.
And this is coming off of a loss recently to Beast Coast. They also have been kind of an up and coming team. Almost it felt like in the same boat as Moon Raccoons there, right? Like y'all two were some unknowns that kind of appeared and really made statement names for yourself. So not like a pushover match by any means. But how are you guys preparing now for tomorrow's match, knowing what's on the line? Um, what changes are you guys making? Not really from a technical perspective, right? But what do you guys really have to improve on to have better outcomes tomorrow?
Um, I'll use the word of connecting with teammates, because something within the game that sometimes is really hard to do is to connect with one another, know what people are doing, acting accordingly, and moving forward, which is communication, teamwork, chemistry, stuff you can't always have from day one. It's something you have to build over time. So we spent more time on those types of things because we're like, okay, we're losing this because of this. We need to work on this. And when we're doing it, everything is amazing. When we're not, it gets a little dicey. So we focus on an aspect that we believe would give us the greatest amount of growth.
And I see for you personally, you have I say a diverse character pool. You play Cypher, it looks like primarily, right? And then you trickle in. I've seen some Sage and Breach and things like that. What are you kind of adapting to the most? Where do you feel like you're best, most comfortable for you as a player right now?
For me right now, um, I'll say Cypher and Sage. The reason I'll say Sage specifically is I used to main Sage in beta and kind of brought it in, and then when like the big Sage nerfs came out, it's like no one wanted you to play Sage anymore, so you
Yeah.
couldn't really get away with it. You couldn't get people to play it, and they would just be like, "Yeah, we're not about it." So that's probably my most comfortable character, and I do end up actually playing one more agent of Sova, which we made that change right after the second VCT because we had just an idea we wanted to go with. Because I am assuming this comes out after, it will probably be shown between now and then. So
Let me ask you this then, from a professional player's opinion, because you mentioned you liked Sage, the nerf came out, and then everyone pretty much said, yeah, you're not going to play her anymore. What I guess because we see this in pugs all the time where people are like, well, what do you want? And in a pug, it's kind of like whatever you're comfortable with. Like, it's more important for you to be comfortable and better with the player than force your way into a meta. Do you feel like that's overlooked on the pro level? Like, people are too focused on like, well, this team just won this tournament with this meta, so we need to focus on that and try to make it work for us, rather than just say, you know what, you're dominant with Sage, we'll work around you.
um I'll say it's kind of 50-50. So I'll talk more about the tier 2 scene here. Is they'll see Sentinels do this, they're like, oh, we got to do this. Or they'll see TS, like so on and so forth. You can name any team, they're like, they do this, we'll do this. Rather than, oh, this is the idea they're getting at. How can we implement that in our system? How can we make our system work with this type of play? And that's kind of the difference between some of the tier 1, tier 2 teams, is because tier 1 teams are leading the way. Well, tier 2 teams are just looking at them like, I want to do that. That looks cool. And they think it works, but in reality, you never should give up on any type of comp just because a change is made to the character. Like in the case of Sage, nothing was fundamentally changed about the character. You can still do the same things, except with a little bit of restrictions to it. And that's just something some people early on were like, okay, well, these guys are doing this, so why the hell are we doing this? And that was just kind of the way in tier 2 for a while. It's like, we're not playing it because no one else is.
I gotta ask a real question. Do you like playing Cypher? Because I would find him to be such a distracting player to play because there's just so much going on with him and so much you're an information provider, right? And so you constantly got to be passing on information and making sure that you're getting it, whether it's through your cameras or putting your trip mines in the right spot. Do you like that, or is that something that you're doing for the team?
um I'll say I actually like every character except Reyna. I hate Reyna
Okay.
because lack of creativity. That's the only reason
Yeah.
I'll say it. For Cypher, I actually feel he's one of the more basic characters because you can get it pre-set up. You go over it before, like, I just need to do this start of the round. I have all it set and I'm ready to go. You don't need to think, you just have it ready. So like would struggle more in pugs, but in team play it's actually easier.
Makes sense.
And I do actually like the character because I feel he's one of the few characters that keeps evolving in how you have to play him, how you have to place your trips, what types of cages you can do to do against this. And I think of that like in a very unique way, and I think it's really cool because obviously, can I push it further? Can I do something a little bit different that someone hasn't done yet, or can I bring it back to the old stuff and will it still work and work better than it did before? Because people aren't ready for it now. So that's how I view Cipher, which I find enjoyable personally.
When you were on I'm going to take this a different way than with the same question almost. When you were playing with Moon Raccoons and you were working towards getting a contract with the team, do you feel like it is a negative almost in a sense to play a character? Take Cypher out of the question, right? So just any character that could potentially hurt your ratios, right? Maybe your numbers won't look as good, but you know you're benefiting the team. Does that thought ever cross a player's mind, whether it be you or anybody that you know of, that hey, I don't really want to do this because it's not going to help me get onto a team. This is going to benefit temperature getting onto a team, you know?
Yeah, that I'll also definitely say like that is kind of a thought you can have. However, something we all kind of I came to realization, I think everyone on Moon Raccoons is we work as a team and things work because of who is playing. like Rebo, his stats weren't the greatest, right? You can probably look at them like, why the hell did he get picked up by Ambox? He added so much to the team that was not fragging potential and stuff you could not see from a stream or anything like that. So you have to look at it like, if I just look at it from his perspective, like you have to hope people realize, and if people don't, in all honesty, those aren't the people you should be looking at, because they don't understand the true value that a player can have without just shooting someone in the face.
Makes perfect sense from that point of view, for sure. Well, Temperature, I know we're up against the time, so I want to thank you again for coming on the show. We'll definitely have to have you on again sometime down the road, possibly after VCT and all this wraps up. I know you guys, like you said, have a match tomorrow, so we'll let you get any last minute practice. What's the schedule looking like?
We finished practice earlier today, and tomorrow we're just like play the game before, get ready. We have a warm-up scrim like an hour before, because we're like, oh, we really suck on the first map because we're just not warm and ready as a team. So we're going to play a practice scrim beforehand, and before that, I'm personally just going to be playing ranked and just doing my thing until this practice scrim, or warm-up scrim, I'll call it.
Do you have an off game? Like what do you play outside? Like if you're like, you know what, I have a day off, I want to chill and not think of work, what is it that you're playing?
I mean, I view Valorant because I love the game. That's why I'm able to play it so much and like do whatever with it. So it is kind of really the only game I play. But if it's ever like a time where like, oh, it's after practice, I don't want to touch the game, I'll probably play like Worms or some other game that's just like silly. You can just mess
Mindless
around
fun.
in. Yeah, you can mess around and don't have to care. And you can play with some friends and some dumb shit's gonna happen and you just laugh and have a great time and no one gets upset. So that is what I tend to try to do more.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, before we let you go, let's get a liner from you. It's almost like an audio signature, if you want to call it that. So it's where you can just state your name, like, hey, this is Temperature with EG or whatever you want to say, and you're listening to the center ring.
This is Evil Genius Temperature, and you are listening to the center ring.
Perfect.
Awesome,
What a
bud.
professional. It's like you're a long-time veteran. You would be surprised with how many people struggle with that sentence. But again, definitely appreciate you coming on. Keep me updated in DMs or whatever on your charity stream, and we can definitely promote it on the show and get some listeners in the chat for you, and hopefully bump that number up a little bit. For those interested, you can follow Temperature on Twitter at TemperatureCSGO. We gonna change that?
Got to change something there.
If I'm able to get Temperature as a name, I will definitely change it. Otherwise, I'm kind of debating. I'm like,
You can say it's giving yourself the opportunity to make the switch back in the future. We like that forward thinking. So that's awesome, dude. Wish you all the best in VCT and beyond. We look forward to seeing your many successes, rooting for a team and what you guys are you're putting yourselves out there to make this happen, and it's huge for the scene. It's a beautiful thing to see, and we appreciate you taking the time to be with us prior to game day.
all right. Thank you guys for having me. I hope you have a good one.
You
Appreciate
too,
it,
buddy.
man. You too. See ya.
Mhm.
All right, and there is Temperature from Evil Geniuses. Good dude. Look, I'm the story behind it, just with Moon Raccoons and how we followed them, and we had Raptors on for Moon Raccoons, and just kind of getting that. It's good to see, even though the band couldn't stick together. It's good to see them going to like a huge org like Evil Geniuses.
Yeah, that's what we were rooting for, is for them to just continue to grow in the scene. We were hoping we would see that unit get a chance to do it together, but as long as they're getting chances, I think the mission was accomplished, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get over into some e-news to finish things up. E-news brought to you by Philly Esports. Check them out. Friends of the show, we've had them on before, phillyesports.net. You can get your monthly event going. They host monthly tournaments. You don't have to be in Philly just to join. Join it with your crew this month, March 20th, I should say. We're already on to the next month. 2v2 gunfight tournament for Call of Duty Cold War. Check it out, phillyesports.net. All right, light e-news to get to here. With Valorant, Curry ends up joining T1 as they've had a vacant spot.
Yeah, coming from Triumph. I think a little bit of a surprise pickup, although he was playing with them in VCT, like in the sense of a little bit more of an unknown to the Valorant community, and he had also retired from Triumph to focus on school. But I think a great opportunity for him, somebody that was really growing in the CS scene and getting that chance on the big stage here in Valorant. So wish him all the best. And with a name like Curry and being Indian, we'll have to find a way to get him on the show.
I love I want to retire to focus on school from Triumph, and then T1 calls, and you're like, I'm okay.
School can wait.
School can wait. I'll come back. As an Indian, do you think his parents are happy?
No. Disappointment.
Oh, love it. Love it. In incredibly sad news, Anuj, COD Mobile, Brazilian Pro. Do you not have their names here?
No.
Okay.
I thought you had the tweet.
I don't have the tweet pulled up.
The
I'll
tweet.
pull it up here. Either way, incredibly sad story that happened just the other day, that in Brazil, these COD Mobile players met up. There's a guy and a girl, and the guy ends up meeting up with the chick and murders her.
Insane, dude. Like,
and they're like 19, 18 years old. Incredibly sad story.
yeah, just twisted as shit, and you hate to see it. And condolences to the family of the victim. Like that's just. Yeah. It doesn't matter, video games or not. Like you hate to see stuff like that at such a young age, and like you just wonder where that shit went wrong. But
no real motive other than that he's just insane, right? So, and he's like posted a video with the dead body laughing about it. Like, I mean, I guess have fun laughing in Brazil prison for the next, we'll see if he's still laughing about it in 50 years when he's still in prison, if he makes it that long.
Yeah.
But incredibly sad, incredibly sad. In other e-news, Fry's Electronics officially closes their door.
It's their fault.
I mean, it's been on.
I'm not even gonna say this. Had nothing to do with COVID.
They've been on life support for a long, long time.
When you don't even have a domain name for it's like outpost.com or something is your website, and you never changed it to Fry's, and your website looks like it's from the 1950. I mean, like one of the first websites created. Like you let Amazon run you over, and you did nothing to stay relevant.
Fry's, man, that used to be though.
Used to be awesome before they were commission based, and you didn't feel like you were just getting sold whatever they could sell you to make a little bit of money.
Yeah, that's like we go there, buy all your PC parts in one. Yeah. It's like it's what Micro Center is today. Fry's used last time I went to Fry's had to have been, I don't know, maybe like 8 years ago, and like there was half the store was turned off, half the lights were off. I think they had taping up half the store. And then there was like the only thing on the shelves were like seen on TV stuff. It was
we used to go there sometimes, like because they're right next to my office, and we would run in there from time to time, and it was it's not the same. And like I said, they never did anything to stay up with the times.
No, definitely did it to themselves. NHL announces a multi-year deal with DreamHack to operate its NHL Gaming World Championships. That's kind of cool to see DreamHack kind of enter in with a big name like the NHL. And vice versa.
The NHL like involved in esports, I think is kind of cool. We see it with 2K.
They've always done like their own in-house stuff with NHL, but you know what? The game still sucks. So, like any other sports game, it's just sports. It's a sports video game. There's always a level of it just sucks no matter what. HP buys out HyperX, so now you will be seeing, I guess, beefing up the HP lineup along with their HP Omen laptop and everything. That's a surprise one. I wasn't expecting that at all, that HP was kind of getting into on that type of level, but whatever. We'll see what happens.
Good buy, though. I mean, HyperX, fantastic brand. And,
excellent.
Excellent.
And all you Anthem fans out there, I believe the official name was like New Anthem or Anthem New.
Anthem Next or something.
That's what it was. Anthem Next. Anthem 2 is essentially what it was. BioWare has officially canceled it, moving the small team of 8 onwards to the next Mass Effect and Dragon's Age.
Probably a good idea.
So
Anthem was a complete bomb, so the fact that they were even trying to make a second one was surprising.
Well, so it wasn't a second one though. That's why it's Anthem Next. They were like remaking Anthem from like the ground up. It wasn't going to be Anthem 2. It was going
the next iteration. I'm just surprised they kept going with it once they had butchered it. I mean, so badly. Like it was just a
No,
wannabe
it's-
Destiny that never lived up to the hype.
No. Another game where it's like I was super hyped to play the beta, and I was smart enough to be like,
Yeah.
all my buddies were like, "You're not gonna buy it?" Like, no, I'm not. I'm not.
I'm not too lazy to quit after 3 days. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
I've been
save
around the
myself.
block a few times. Okay, this ain't
Yeah.
my first rodeo. I know where this is going. I know where this is going.
It's like 4 months WoW subscription.
For real. All right. And you know where this is going because it's the end of the show. Episode 308. It's done. It's in the books. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Alt and Philly Esports for sponsoring the show and e-news, respectively. Check us out on Twitter at The Center Ring. Be up to date with all the show news. Get on Discord, Patreon link as well on our Twitter. If you want to support the show, we would love it. We definitely appreciate it. Thank you to Temperature from Evil Geniuses for coming on the show, talking some Valorant, reminiscing of the good old days with Moon Raccoons. Definitely appreciate him. Good dude as well. We will be back Sunday night to talk some Katowice, recap CDL Super Week. We have a ton of Call of Duty to talk about, and whatever else happens in the world of esports. So, until then, for Anuj, I'm Tim. We'll see ya.